mandatory when using tables. One is the table tag, shown here on line 9. The other is TR, which stands for table row, which you can see it's here on lines 10, 15, and 20. And of course, they have their corresponding closing tags with the backslash. And then the other one's TD, stands for table data. Okay, and so your table tag indicates to the browser that you're going to start a table. TR indicates that you're going to start a row, and TData are the data cells within each row. So using the basic tags, as you can see I've done here with the basic table page, is I set up the table row. This row has 3 columns shown by these 3 divisions here on lines 11, 12, and 13. Then that row closes. And the content of these cells are row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2, row 1, column 3, respectively. Then if you go down here to line 15, the table row, another row was started, and then it has 3 columns in it here on line 16, 17, and 18. And then it's closed on line 19, and then it's repeated again here on line 20 with another row that has 3 columns here indicated by lines 21, 22, and 23. Then the table is closed, and then the body and HTML are closed. So that's the basic table tag. You can see what it generates over here on the right. Now, as you see here, it did put row 1, column 1, then a colon, row 1, column 2, then a colon, row 1, column 3, and a colon, all on the first row. And then on the second row, it's row 2, and then the third row, it's row 3. So that is the basic table tag. Now, there are a couple of attributes and a couple of other tags that you can use to make your table look better, and I'm going to explain those now. One attribute, which I'll pause here, which we will normally put this attribute in, the border attribute. We'll normally put this in when we do CSS, but I'm putting it in here just so that we can actually see the table. It's for illustrative purposes here. So I put in the attribute inside the table tag of border equals 1, and yes, the quotes are needed. And then if I run this or show it in the browser, you can see that a border was put around each one of the table divisions. And so that's how you use the border tag. And you can change it and do the styling, but keep in mind we're going to do that in CSS. The only reason I did it here was to make it easier to see the cells in the table. The next tag I want to show you in dealing with tables is the caption tag. So this is used for title of a table, and with its attributes you can move it up to the top, to the bottom, to the side. Right now I'm just going to put a plain old caption tag in there and put it at the top. Once again, the attributes will manipulate in CSS. So let's just put table, close out the caption tag like that, and then save it and show it in the browser. And you can see now that that caption has been added by default at the top of the table. No border around it. It's just the title. I like to think that the title of the table, but caption is what they use for tables. So the next tag I'd like to show is the table header tag. And this is very useful with organizing your data in the table. So what you do is you start off with table row, and instead of using the table divisions or the table data, you use table header. And so let's just call this column 1. Table header. And then we'll do another because we have 3 columns, so we have to be consistent here. Table header for column 2, and another table header for column 3, and then finish the row. Okay, so now if we save that and view it in the browser, you see now over here on the right that we've added headers to each one of these columns, which is very convenient now. That makes the table more readable, makes the data that we're trying to display in the table much clearer. The next thing I'd like to show you is an attribute to the table headers. Attribute that can be used with the table headers or the table divisions, and this is column span and row span, which allows a header across the top to span more than one row, or it also allows a table division to span more than row 1 or one column. So let's see this in action here. Let's add another row. And in this table header, let's do a column span of 2. And say that's column 1 and 2. And let's do another table header here because we have to complete the whole table. So if we're going to do a column span of 2, that leaves one column left over. So we have to put something in that column or we're going to get a malformed table. So let's put a table header here at column 3. And then let's close out that row. Save it, show it in the browser. So you can see line 12 here is generating 2 table headers, one that spans using the column span, spans the first 2 columns, and another that is on the 3rd column. Okay. The next thing I'd like to show you is how you can use the row span to span rows. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this cell here to span both of these rows. And so in doing that, I'm going to add the row span attribute, let's say equals 2, to this table division, and say this will span row 1 and 2. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is get rid of the row here, because what's going to happen is now I've said that this row on line 14 is going to span 2 rows, and so therefore, so that I won't get a malformed table, I've got to get rid of the row on line 19. Instead of getting rid of it, I'll illustrate comments here, and I'll just comment it out. Save it. And now you see that that cell containing the text row 1 and 2 in column 1, it's still in column 1, but it's now spanning rows 1 and 2 of the data area of this table. So that's what I wanted to show you about tables. There are a lot of other attributes in formatting, but I did want to once again point out a very critical design point, that no longer do we use tables to for our page. No longer do we use tables for our page layout. What we use tables for is, once again, information that semantically lends itself to tables. Things such as spreadsheets, budgets, rosters, any information that can be laid out in the table. Do not use them for page layout. We'll cover page layout a little bit later in the class.